So we have parts to a circle. The first one is the diameter, which is through the center from one side to the other. So if we have a circle, center spot, line all the way through from one side to the other is diameter. Then we have a radius. Anybody? Or how about this? Half the diameter. Yeah? So if we know the diameter, we can figure out the radius. If we know the radius, we can figure out the diameter. Right? Everyone agree to that? So then, center point. What is that? The center of our circle. And when do we use a center point? Why do we need to know the center point?
To find the radius, diameter.
We need it so we can find diameter and radius. What else do we use it for? Remember those cool little instruments to draw a circle? KDB? And what does the center point have to do with the compass thingy? That's the location, right? That is what makes us draw the circle. So it helps, or actually creates the circle. Because obviously in mine, not a circle, right? Because we know from here to there is a lot smaller than there to there, but that's not true in a real circle. The center point is the same distance away from the whole thing. It is setting in the center. There's no change in the distance. So then the last one, the one you say you don't know or didn't know, was a chord. Did I spell it right? No, I don't think so.
No.
I'm having a rough Friday. It's like a Monday. So what is the chord?
I'm not sure how to describe that one. It's like away from the center, I know that.
It's like the side circle.
Wouldn't it be any line in the circle not through the center? Right? So if I have my nice, wonderful circle here, this is a chord, but also this is a chord. So any line that doesn't hit the center spot is a chord. I can draw a million chords. Right?
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't pass through the center point, it's called a chord. All right, so now that we know the parts of our circle, let's talk about measuring our circle. Oh, I hate measuring, Mrs. Miller. Circumference. Who can give me a definition for circumference? So what? It's the outside of the circle. So what word do we use when we do rectangles that is the same? No. Perimeter. All right. So does anyone remember what the formula for finding circumference is? Katie? Katie? Nobody is going to give me this? No.
No?
Not circumference.
Oh, that's the area.
Circumference is pi times the diameter.
This is so complex.
Okay, so think of it this way. When I am finding area in a rectangle, what do I leave my label as? How do I label it? So if I have an area of a square and it's 4 by 4, I take what? To find my area, square.
Yeah.
You just did these.
Yeah, you times 4 by 4.
I take 4 times 4, and then I measure it in inches,
Squared.
and I put it squared. Okay? So here's how to remember the difference between circumference of a circle and area of a circle. Ready? Here's my area. So what is area of a circle? What's it going to measure? Outside or inside? Okay, so we have inside of the circle. And does anyone know the equation?
Has something to do with the radius. Pi times the radius.
Pi, radius, and what is area measured in? How do we label it? Squared, so we know we have a square.
So that's times, right?
Itself.
Pi times r. So what?
You have to know how to work with a square. So we'll get there. But those are the two equations you need to know. Any questions on the two equations? Because we're going to get to examples here in a second. Everyone's good on my two equations? Now that we've seen them, we somewhat remember them, maybe, hopefully?
Yeah.
Kinda? Sorta?
So area is pi times radius.
It's right there. Area A equals pi radius squared. Circumference is pi times diameter, or d pi. All right, so then the next thing we have to know in order to do this is what is pi equal to?
3.14.
We call it 3.14, okay? Because the circumference of a circle is about 3.14 times as long as its diameter. So they call pi 3.14. I hate numbers. I like this easier. I remember that March 14th is Pi Day.
Really? My brother was born on that day.
Think about it. Isn't March the 3rd month and 14? So 3.14 gives me Pi Day. Simple way to remember what pi is. March 14th. Okay?
Okay.
So, now that we know pi, we can solve our equations. So we're going to do the first circle. And I want you to tell me the area and the circumference.
So that's 8 inches across.
Yep. We'll start with area. First thing we have to decide is what? If we know our diameter is 8 inches and we are using this equation, what do we have to find? Very first. What, Max?
The radius.
And how do we find the radius?
We just cut the diameter in half.
Isn't diameter, and the reason I'm doing this times a half is because if it was a fraction, you have to be able to keep it as a fraction. So 8 times a half is,
4.
so we know our radius equals 4 then, right? Now, how do we solve the equation, Cameron?
The rate 4 times pi.
No. Isn't this our equation? So, can't I plug 4 in for r, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the next part of it. When you see something squared, what does that mean?
Times it 2 times.
If something is squared, we multiply it by itself 2 times. twice, right? So the number twice. So we would take 4 times 4. Right?
60.
If it was now I'm out blank. Kathy, help. If it's cubed. If it's cubed, we multiply it how many times?
3 times.
So we would take 4 times 4 times 4.
That'd be 60.
Okay? So when it asks you for squared, you're taking 4 times itself. Remember, we have to do this before we do this. So this is 1 and that's 2. Order of operation. So 4 times 4 is, and then we multiply it by 3.14, correct? And that will give us our area. So what is the answer, Max? Did you do it?
Yeah, 50.24.
50.24 inches. What? Perfecto. That's area. So, circumference then. What's the equation, Connie?
Pi times D.
Okay, so what's D in our world? No. What's D in our world? 8, right? So pi times 8 or 3.14 times 8 gives us, anyone?
25.20.
25.12 inches. Is that one squared?
No.
No. It's the circumference. It's the round part. It's the outside, so it doesn't have squared to it. Okay, I'm gonna put 4 more up here. These are so good. I am not a circle drawer.
They're beautiful.
None of us are, don't worry.
It's amazing.